Hello, LuigiYoshi44 here, and welcome to this creepypasta video of Mario Kart 64 Driven. It's about Mario Kart 64 and a lot of blood. I'm going with that intro, so let's go. Here it is. The backstory. Oh great, off to a great start. Yay! Growing up as a kid in the mid-90s, I was a Nintendo child through and through. Weekend upon weekend would go by as my brother and I played the SNES and Nintendo 64 until the cows came home. Really, off to a great start. Back then, I was especially partial to my brother's N64 and the set of game he had with it. As a result, he got me to play a lot more by me and made Mario Kart 64 my favorite game. Nazi zombies and modern warfare have taken up most of my gaming time as become part of the Xbox Live age. Free for product placement! But Mario Kart 64 still held a place in my heart as my all-time favorite. All of that was before these past 2 weeks. Now I won't touch an N64 at all, and I rarely play any Nintendo titles. Again, off to a great start. A few months back, I brashly sold my Nintendo 64 and my SNES at a yard sale my family was holding. Avarice and arrogance, okay, I don't even know what avarice means, okay, were brought to me by my discovery of emulators. In my eyes, their ability to deliver classic games in unlimited quality at no cost was second to none. Oh great, this would actually explain what an emulator is. Thank you. Oh wait, I read that. I don't much remember about that yard sale, but the family whom I sold it left a distinct memory in my mind. The family consisted of a small Hispanic woman and 2 very young children. She didn't know much English at the time, and I didn't know any Spanish. I can relate. The language barrier complicated things, but it didn't hinder the sale entirely. She walked off with an SNES and an N64 with roughly 20 games in total. I walked off with 40 bucks. It hadn't taken me long to realize that this is an obtuse decision. Okay, what does that mean? When my brother found out he was frustrated, but he agreed to help me get it back. He came into town 2 weeks ago, and on his second day we headed off to our local used game shop. Okay, I'm trying to... Okay, the store was a nice place called Game Giant. My brother knew the owner and the employees well, as he had gotten a lot of his PS2 games from them before. He moved in a place of his own. As fate would have it, the woman and I sold it would sell my N64 to the shop. We got it for 50 bucks. It's pretty cheap. Can you actually get an N64 that cheap? Oh sweet, I could go hunting for one now. Conker's Bad Fur Day, here I come. The budget wouldn't allow for any games, however, so we were under the impression we would walk out empty-handed. After we explained our financial predicament to the owner, he told us this. They had a copy of Mario Kart 64 they were giving away for free. Oddly enough, he waited for all other customers to leave before he gave it to us. I guess that makes sense. I could buy that. His hands were shaking and he started to slutter. Slutter? That's a funny word. He also let us know that we were more than entitled to a refund should we choose to take it back. Now I believe in ghosts. Still do. But the idea of a haunted video game seemed implausible to me. My brother was a total skeptic and agreed with me. Thinking nothing of the store's owner's strange behavior, we went home ready for a night filled with revived memories. We arrived back home at about 4 p.m. Versus was our first order of business. I chose Toad as my personal favorite childhood because of this unparalleled acceleration. Okay! I may be upsetting a whole lot of people, but Toad sucks! My brother chose Luigi, his personal favorite, because he's the fastest of all the medium weight characters. What about Yoshi? Give Yoshi some love! Shells were tossed and bananas were thrown until 6. We had our dinner, then we divided into Grand Prix races. Okay, I guess I could buy that timing, but... well, at least it doesn't say for 20 seconds. I'll give it that. At least, sounds like that. Walk near them. That sounds good enough. Alright, now... the game. All of the cups are completed on gold. Whoever played this game was pretty close to getting everything, as the only things left to complete were reverse cups. It wasn't any fun to build on someone else's file, so we wanted to clear the data to it. The lap times read all the same, 6 minutes and 60 seconds. Yay, subliminal messages! Not only was this really creepy, but also illogical. Again, hooray! For subliminal messages! How could someone get a perfect Grand Prix record with the time trials like that? My brother, being the skeptic, he was suggested that someone was trying to mess with us. Not inclined to disagree, I cleared the data with the press of a button. That was undoubtedly the worst decision I made in my life. You haven't made others? The game shut off by itself. Only static could be seen and heard from a good 5 minutes. Dominantly audible, it was the depressed, scared voice of Mario repeating in a cryptic face. "You have driven us," he said in a clear melancholia. "And now you must watch us. And now you must watch us suffer." My brother thought that was just something someone programmed into the cartridge. I had been playing the game for the entire time after dinner, and I refused to play after what happened. My brother was visibly shaken, but he still wanted to prove to me nothing out of the ordinary was wrong with this game. So he played it with me, watching it the next morning. He switched on the game without incident. The start menu and player select screens were all normal. He chose the Star Cup and started to play the first race. All the characters looked normal, except things were very wrong. The borders on the sides of the track didn't display their usual Wario Stadium. Instead, they read, "You will pay." When the race started, Lucky Q had a menacing smirk on his face. Evil would be the best way to describe it. After his son said the number 1 and said, "Die!" rather than "Go!" Every time someone slipped on a banana, they didn't make the cheerful cartoon choppers they would normally make. Their cart would be sputter out and black smoke would begin to fume out of the engine, accompanied by their screams and cries for help. My brother's character Luigi hurled his first close range of red shells in the entire race. It hit Yoshi with an explosive crash and his cart went to pieces. This familiar little dinosaur was now blistered just past the spine. Wait, bisected. Oh, okay. Crawling along the track, it began to begging for this to end. My brother was invisibly perturbed. I just know I said that wrong. But he pressed on and finished the race. Right when he finished the line, a distorted version of the victory theme played, accompanied by a slow, distorted demonic laughter with several explosion sounds. As Luigi made his victory lap, all of the racers whose carts were smoking had died and the cart exploded. Charged 64-bit body parts littered across the plume of smoke hovered over the racetrack. In front of it all, it said, "RIP." Yay, morbid! After this was all finished, he shut it off. The TV stayed on as he flicked the switch and Mario appeared on the screen. His cart has a mangled mess besides a sprawled body. Bones protrude from his arms and legs, patches of flesh are missing, revealing his muscles, his organs lay stone on the floor around him, as his body uncontrollably twitched with agony. His eyes were bloodshot and with filled tears. Blood and bruises covered him on his painted face. He was painting as if he were about to die. Marvel lost his cheerful animated look and donned a deary solemn one. His Sophie wept as he gave warning. You should have cleared that data. His record has died. Now, we will die too. You have driven us to this, so you must watch us suffer. Excuse me. After all of that, these words appeared on the screen in a colorful, upbeat font. You have driven us. You will have driven him. My brother refused to play through the game's torture any longer. He couldn't, after seeing this game he had loved for so long, be perverted into this. I agreed to play in his place, so in exchange he got a video camera to immortalize this madness. I had scoured his courage to turn the system back on. Blood and gore itself don't bother me. Blood, 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 everybody loves blood, 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 blood. It was seeing all of the suffering, it was too much, but something inside me pushed the power button on the N64. I wish I hadn't in this intense peace of mind and my sanity. Brilliant! The title screen showed the characters going down the hill. Donkey Kong was splitting Luigi's skull in half with a saw opposed to holding a green shell. The look on his face wasn't one mischief either. It was a pure bloodlust and sick elation from being an orchestrator of such carnage. Peach, Yoshi, and Mario had a look of premier fear at the scene, obviously trying to divide away a cloudy lightning muddled in the sky and replaced with the mild orange sunsets. Flame had danced on the distance as what sounded like a heartbeat playing in the place of a cheery soundtrack. The exuberant excited "Welcome to Mario Kart" was replaced by the sobs of Mario. The entire sight disgusted me, but I managed to press start. The game catapulted me straight into the player's screen. The facial expressions of all the characters had drastically changed. All of the good characters, Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad. What about Yoshi? Had an expression of utter horror in their faces. Some of the heads shook nervously while others remained still. Bowser, Donkey Kong, and Wario were unanimously showing bloodlust. Not a playful menacing look, but one of pure greed and evil. I always knew Donkey Kong would be evil. I always knew that. I moved on over to the Toad and selected him. Instead of his happy "Wahoo!" he started to weep mournfully. I was starting to race on a more dejected than usual version of Bowser's Castle. The music was the same, except it was a lower pitch and much more ominous sounding. It sounded so creepy it disturbed me. Great, one of those! The first thing I noticed is that Peach was missing from the starting lineup. Like you had an even more nefarious looking expression than he did early in the Wario Stadium race. The same disturbing introduction produced itself once again. 3, 2, 1, die! All the cars sped past the bridge. A flame-shooting statue of a demon stood in front of a place where Bowser would normally be at. Bowser, Wario, and Donkey Kong. Again, I always knew Donkey Kong would be evil. All veered to take their place next to the stadium. An audible conversation could be heard, and satanic figures speaking in tongues not uttered normally by mortal men. All three of the characters appear to speak on an unstorming Arakic language. Again, with the big words. Suddenly, a burst of flame shot out and killed Luigi. The three characters laughed in a sick tone that implied that they were loving the sight of such dismay. Luigi's flesh is charged and his muscles exposed in many places. As the villains laughed, the demonic repeated that cryptic, recurring message. You have driven us. Peach's fate was soon dismally apparent. As Mario and I drifted to the corner to evade this deathly torture of the demon breath, I spotted behind her bars with the Womp Cage. She was tied to them with thick rope. Her eyes were missing from their sockets as she cried blood. Thick, calculated blood stained on the entire dress. Every time the ground shook, rock thumped the ground and she threw up blood, creating a pool filled in the entire bottom sections of the transcender torture chamber. I don't know, the words are getting cut off. Through her torture, she motionless, choked out this resounding message. You have driven them. With a final thump, pieces of her body went flying everywhere. The Womp laughed in the same tone of 3 characters dead. Mario and my character Toad were the only ones alive at this point. And what happened to Peach? My brother threw up in his mouth a little. Oh boy! First the blood cliche and now the throw up cliche! Yay! I asked him if he was getting everything on camera. He did, so I unpaused the game to continue the race. I had managed to dodge this burst of flame emitting from the demonic statues of all 3 laps. At this point, it wasn't even about winning or losing. It was about keeping my character alive, and I didn't know what other dark forces of this game possessed. Whatever was inside that game making all this happen wasn't going anywhere anytime soon, and I doubled back for a capacity of mercy. That is, assuming that it would show me as soon as it possessed it. I didn't know what would happen to my character if I let him die, and I didn't want to find out. This is no longer the game. I felt as if someone's life was in the balance. Possibly mine. Ah, great! I finished ahead of Mario, but a somber sounding version of the losing theme played. Again, it said RIP in front of our names. Except this time it was different. This time it said Richard, which was my actual name. Yay! Good to know! The scream faded out to a womp laugh, which was scary in itself. I was delivered to a sick version of a familiar environment. It was Rainbow Road, but there were no rainbows. Patterns of flesh, vein, eyeballs, and other various internal body parts secreted on the floor. Wario and Bowser, Donkey Kong. Again, I always knew Donkey Kong would be evil. Weren't present at this race. Mario and I were alone, waiting in grim anticipation for the race to get beginnings. Our carts left its track in blood, and it went down to the long tracks at the beginning. Mario performed a special trick. If you hop right before you get sleep, your cart will fly above everyone else's and you'll have a slight advantage. Oh, good to know. When Mario hit the ground, his wheels flew off his cart. His body landed on a track with a hyperreal. Oh, come on! Crunch as he cried out in pain. His legs and arms were almost broken, and he pleaded with me to end it. He yelled out to me as I passed, "Run me over in my suffering. Drive me!" The sky was filled with the music starts as usual. The music that played was sped up, backwards rendition of Royal Racerway's soundtrack. The neon signs were all altered. Instead of the happy-looking depiction of the characters, they were in agony. Each of them was suffering some sort of grotesque death. The very villainous characters just gave me menacing looks, and they were all causing egregious death stares at my character. They all had speech bubbles saying things like, "You will burn!" and other components especially disturbed me. It said, "You have driven us! You will pay!" It was a final lap now, Lucky Q laugh, and I could have sworn had some chuckle in my room. My brother did happen that too. I don't know, it was getting cut off. The words are cutting off. And that was it for him. He told me to turn off the game or he was leaving. I obviously couldn't do that. I had to find out what would happen to Toad, and if I quit right then and I couldn't get past the guilt. No, now it was a matter of life and death. This game conveyed their characters' range emotionally accurate, much too accurately. I felt that if I left Toad, I would be condemning him to an eternal hell. I had to keep playing. Mario was still lying there. He was barely alive, begging me to put him out of his misery. But I refused to give that sadistic race to this game. I completed the race, and just like last time it said, "RIP, Richard." My place now read 666 instead of first. I got really scared. How the hell did this game to me know what I was playing? How could it speak to me? How did it know my name? Had I ever before had a video game elicted emotions of such magnitude, elicted fear so primal? I preserved hoping that all this madness would soon come to an end. Oh, you should play Alice Madness Returns. It's a really good game. shamelessly advertising that. So I can preserve my sanity. What I saw will haunt me forever. Toad spawned in front of Mario Kart 64 Castle in Royal Raceway. All the greenery was ablaze, and then the waterfall filled the surrounding moat with blood. Macabre figures could be seen in the distance. The sky was black and filled with lightning as bursts of lava erupted in the distance. Where the yellow sand should have been lay the flesh-like ground I encountered on Rainbow Road. I legitimately feared for my life at this point. This place looked like hell. No, it was hell. Yay, dramatic reveal! Yay! It had been pressing me on an gripping terror. I had approached the winner's podium as blood flew up behind me. Bowser was in first, Donkey Kong was in second, and Wario in third. Oh, come on, give Wario some love! They were all laughing as the fire-breathing demon from Bowser's castle stood behind them with a greedy smirk. The floating fish was above it, looked a stark, bloodless cast across its eerie, shadowed face. Behind the podium stood the characters in the states right before they died, disfigured and clinging to life. Except their eyes were all missing. They were bleeding like Peach was earlier, a soulless look looming in their sockets. They were unable to see anything, but they were staring at me. Their faces no longer displayed expressions of suffering or anguish. They were blank looks, bared of any expression. "You have driven us," they said as one. Suddenly the swelling noise was made as the trophy came out instead. It was much different. Blood went everywhere as a huge sword came out and sliced Bowser in half. Little volatile. The demon tore apart everything as Toad watched. He spared Toad for some reason. At that moment, Toad turned toward the face of the screen, his eyes now profusely bleeding and soulless, and chanted in unison with the demon beside him. "You have left us. You have damned us. You have driven us." The game itself then shut off itself. I tried removing the cartridge, but it burned to my hand. I was steaming on the surface, so I took it was steaming on the surface, so I took a nearby sweater and then threw it down my driveway. My brother got my brother to burn it for me. While it was burning, I decided to see if the footage had been properly captured. The audio had disappeared. My brother said he stopped recording within the limit. So, it should have been there. All we found was a single picture. It was a portrait of Mario crying blood as he did in the game. It read, "You have driven us," on the bottom. As the outer plastic melted from the game shell, the sound of screams came out of my room. I ran in my room to see what was going on. The door to the bathroom was open. Walking in, I pushed to open the point of tears. My sink was filled with blood. Written on these mirrors were, "It will never end. You have driven us." And that was Mario Kart 64 Driven. Well, here's my version of it. Once upon a time, there was blood everywhere. The end. Thank you. That was kind of the one problem with it. The blood, it didn't make it any creepy at all. It really turned it more into a comedy, if you will. Because I just was like laughing over how over the top they made this creepypasta, how over the top, how overly dramatic it is. And it was a very weird one to begin with. But I actually enjoyed reading it, but the blood, that was a little overboard. And very volatile in some scenes. Slicing Bowser in half, that is... Okay, that is like... No. And one more thing. You know when you're off to a great start when your creepypasta begins with the backstory. It's overall decent, but terrible. Bye.
Hello, WaluigiYoshi44 here. Most of you know me to do creepypastas. Well, if you know me to do old toy series that I ended that nobody bothered watching. But, I digress. I'm here to tell you, if you have a creepypasta that you want me to take a look at, whether it's one you like, one you hate, preferably one you hate, I love tearing into those. If you have one that you hate or like, please put it in the comments or PM me your request, and I will see what I can do. Thank you. Bye.